Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Orsini, and once again, we're MSP Dispatch here for Ride a Boom in Las Vegas, Nevada. Here joining me today is Miss Joy Belinda Beland. How you doing, Joy?
I'm well. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for coming on. So I want to give some of your background first, and then we'll get into why we're having the conversation. Sure. But you hold positions with Summit 7, right?
Right.
Which is MSP, MSSP in the DoD space.
Correct.
Right. So, and I say that because security, compliance, these are things that are top of mind for you on a daily basis, right?
Very strict.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I say that to qualify as we get into this discussion, as I'm sure most of the people watching this have already become aware of and have their opinions. I want to say because your perspective is going to be the very strict, very high security space, right? Uh-huh. And then also VPN board member, MSPs for the protection of critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
For those that are unfamiliar, what is that exactly?
It's a consortium of different MSPs, like basically our top competitors in the space, that we all came together and said, well, if we're going to be regulated by the Department of Defense, who knows not a thing about that managed services industry, we're going to make a much bigger impact if we can have one voice and collaborate and give guidance for what would make sense for our industry to the DoD. And I think that the collective is formed by some founding firms that are trusted advisors in the space for this kind of work with the defense contractors. And so we have positions on many things, and it's really a very cool thing to come together with your biggest competitors and really make headway on something that represents how the entire industry could be perceived in the first rollout of very sensitive information, right? This is just the DoD, but it goes well beyond the DoD.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the way it starts. It starts at the top, and then it kind of trickles down to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You know? So it's so important to be there at the beginning. And I get that. You're trying to control what your future is going to be as opposed to let them just control it and tell you what it's going to be. So it makes sense. So let's come back to this post. You posted this just before Ride a Boom started, and I'll read the first beginning lines and we'll link it in the show notes for anybody who wants to. But it says, "It's time for my most unpopular post of the year yet. I'm sure more will come. If you're attending Ride a Boom this week and wish to connect with me, do not message me via the app. My organization does not allow installation of apps on our work devices. And you know what? Rightly so, my friend." So this is, there's a much longer post to it, but I want to hear your words now that you've had 72 hours to have those conversations and think about it. First and foremost, do you still feel the same way as when you posted?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk me through it. Because at first glance, I saw the post and said, okay, boo-hoo, you're complaining about a conference that you signed up for and you want to be able to communicate with everybody else. The requirement is the app, right? We have LinkedIn apps. We have, I'll say the bad word, TikTok apps. We have, there are apps that we use, RTOTP apps, there are apps we use that are just commonplace. We accept this as part of doing business. Your line is much more strict here, saying I should be able to enjoy the conference, get the best out of it without needing this app. So why do you feel that way? What crosses the line when it comes to this app versus any other app you'd be using? Why does this one stand out to you?
This one is, well, first of all, I want to just really be clear that it's not just Ride a Boom. It's almost every conference we go to in the MSP industry. And I think that this falls under that category of, are we practicing what we preach? You say that the brand of MSP that in the space that I'm in requires a stricter level of security. I'd actually argue that.
Okay.
Because in 2015, I was developing security awareness training for my own customers when I had my own MSP. And in 2015, I was talking to my own people on my team and all of my customers about, look, if you don't absolutely have to have an app to do your job, rethink it. It's a work device. The mobile phones, and then I'm going to my customers and I'm saying the same thing to them, whether it's your computer or your mobile devices, just because there's a cool thing, like, when TikTok came out, You have to really understand what are the potential implications to installing that. And over the years, what has really been disturbing to me is that the vendor community has fabulous marketing teams.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's how you do business, is you get word out there. You make things convenient. You want everyone to feel like they have something special that they're doing with you that they're not going to get with somebody else. So at these conferences, is it the people who do the security at that vendor that are determining which app is going to be used, why, how could it potentially impact all of the people who are the vector, right? Or is it the marketing team who is choosing an app for functionality and for price?
Yeah.
I would put heavy dollars, maybe not Write a Boom, but I would put heavy dollars for, and I worked for the vendor community, the security vendor community as an employee for several years after I sold my MSP. I'm telling you, these motions are done by marketing teams.
Yes.
Right?
Now, as I helped facilitate the creation of MSP GeekCon last year, my background, I've worked on a lot of conferences, helping them build and facilitate and affect the conferences. So you're right. It's choosing the platform is rarely, it's a full security discussion of, does this meet our goals? Do we have to have this? Which one gives us the most control of our data? So on and so forth. It's really just a picking, okay, is it a CVent? Is it a Huga? What's going to be most convenient for us that will allow us to accomplish our marketing and sales goals?
Right.
And I get that. I've been on the deciding side of that. And you're right. And even knowing the space, understanding the needs. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit I have picked, the app before based on what are we going to accomplish with it, not based on do we really have to.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're at Write a Boom, and we're using it because this is where we're at today. This was the beginning, the conversation just before Write a Boom, but Write a Boom being a notably security-first conference for MSPs, would you, and I'm not putting this on Andrew Morgan, I'm just using the current topic we're in, would you put it on a security conference to say, we should not be saying to use apps, use the website, use this, just because these reasons you're stating, right? Because even RSA, DEF CON, Black Hat, they don't do that. They tell you to use the apps.
No, that's untrue.
There you go. Okay, so educate, please. What
RSA was probably the first one that started with the killer app, but I think the year before last, they got so much pushback from CISOs of enterprise level companies that they stopped requiring the app, and you can use the login on the site.
Yeah.
You can download your session information, anything you want in advance, so you don't even have to be online for the live site while you're there. And that's all that I was asking. It's in this situation, and again, it's not that I really like Andrew, and I think that what he's doing with Write a Boom is absolutely phenomenal and really necessary in our community. But I reached out to him in advance and I said, hey, no one at Summit 7 is going to download an app, period. Can we have a login for the site instead? And he goes, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to use the app. And I said, Andrew, well, can you check? Is there anything? What I was asking for is give me an alternative.
You want to still be able to engage.
I don't feel that's unreasonable.
I agree.
Right? And so that's where, that's why I went into detail in the post also of the alternative, like at least give security professionals an alternative instead of demanding. And it's not just that I can't network with other people.
No,
as you know, a whole bunch of, like, if you want to participate in the contest here, you have to be on the app. If you want to get all of the materials that are being provided as part of the sessions, you have to download the app.
Well, even simple as scheduling changes, room changes, just stuff happens.
So the event agenda is being updated online.
Okay.
And so I give them that much. And then I talked to Ryan Weeks, and he said, you know what? We're going to go onto the CyberCall site and move all of the materials onto there for those who don't want to move the app.
Nice.
So, but it was a series of discussions. And I'm super happy that it got attention simply because we deserve to have a choice.
Yes.
And we, as the MSP, should be leading that narrative. The fact that we're not, to me, is very frustrating.
I think it's one of those things you don't think about until it's said out loud. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that does make sense. That absolutely, it's just, but until the conversation is had, it's very difficult to even consider that that it's a concern, right? Because yes, to you, you're first thinking, do we really need to install an app? We're not going to install an app. To the rest of, I would say, the rest of the average world, we're looking at it as, we just need this to be able to engage. We're not thinking of the why. It's just like the American Airlines app or the United app, or you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not, it just makes my life more convenient, not how does it affect my security posture, which is ridiculous because we're in a world now where the average MSP is thinking about sub-processors, is thinking about, where is my data living, who has access to what, how does it survive after the contract termination, whatever. MSPs are thinking about that today, but that awareness, I don't think, is extended to the other apps we're using.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You'd
install Office on your cell phone without thinking twice. And that's how some of these conference apps are. So Ryan, Andrew, making certain changes to accomplish the goal of, I don't need the app to engage. Going through this, now that we're on day 2 of the conference, do you feel you've been and given that you just had this conversation with them, they haven't had a chance to make everlasting changes yet, but have you felt that you're at a deficit in the engagement of the conference because you're choosing not to use the app?
No, but that's because Ryan made the accommodation in the conversation, a half hour ago of, oh yeah. I mean, he apparently wasn't exposed to any of the conversation. And he said, Joy, I'll make that available on the website. It's a great idea. Make sure that nobody feels penalized.
Right.
And that was my thing, right? Give us the choice.
Yeah. I love it. And I'm hoping this conversation spreads. I'm hoping future conferences, we're getting right into conference season where it's just back to back to back.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking I have CompTIA CCF next week, and I know they have their own app. And so now I'll be thinking about it in this context.
Yeah.
So if there's any takeaway, if you had a win from this post, would you say it's having the event organizers at least consider this before going through all the motions of their app? Or what is your end goal here?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've been to other very big conferences in the MSP industry where they didn't have an online update and they didn't have anything printed. And you would have thought that I was asking them to go outside and kill a horse, just trying to say, can I just have a printed copy? But I do have a challenge for the community. This is what I would like to come out of this. Okay. We have so many security vendors with their heart in the right place. Have them run a research on all of the conference apps that are available to give the community as a gift. These are the risks for each of these different apps. If you choose to install it, this is the risk analysis that you are agreeing to, because most MSPs won't even stop to do that themselves or have the tools or knowledge to do it. So gift us information so that we can make a risk-informed decision.
And they should be doing it anyway. Share the information.
Alternative.
Yes.
Without the app.
Okay.
Then it's a win for everybody. Right?
Well, I agree. We're in March. I mean, there's still 9 months left. Maybe we'll see some changes by the end of the year. I'd love to see it.
You and I are going to high five in December.
Absolutely.
All right. Good.
Absolutely. Good. All right, Joy, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We will include your contact information in the show notes. Anybody can reach out, as well links to the post, right? The post we're talking about.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Ray.
Have a great conference.
All right.
All right. If you want to hear more about this or any other topic, please reach out to us in the show notes below or in the comments. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.